Intrigue. The core Voyager crew are on a planet in a market of some kind, but keeping things quiet. Neelix strolls over and surreptitiously shows them a vial of orange sherbet, leaving Janeway keen for more. Are the bridge crew supplementing their incomes by dealing in alien nose candy? The leather biker squad show up and we get into a bit of a scuffle, with Tuvok throwing yellow poop about the place. They respond in kind after taking a bit of a beating, with their helmets not protecting them against getting hit in the face apparently, and Janeway is dealt a glancing blow by some dodgy lightning effects. Then they take everyone prisoner. Except Janeway, who's saved by a random stranger attacking the leather biker squaddy who'd just taken her comm badge for plot reasons. Up on Voyager, we've got a problem with the warp core. If we can't get some magic science chemicals, presumably that look a lot like orange sherbet, the whole thing is going to shut down and get gummed up with no hope of ever starting again, which seems like quite a design flaw, but I don't know, maybe some Kazon put sugar in the gas tank. We need to conserve power till the sherbet arrives, but the only thing still running is the shield, because we're around what Chakotay describes as a hostile planet, so that's another species we've managed to piss off in the Delta Quadrant. No choice though, so we leave ourselves defenseless. Neelix gives them a call and lets them know the away team has been captured, but he's still got some sherbet, so they teleport him back up. We'll worry about the others later. We plug it in and some bits of a bar chart move around, so I guess it's good sherbet. Chakotay wants to know what happened, but Neelix was in a shop getting more sherbet when shit went down. He knows it was the leather biker squad though, because he spoke to some witnesses, none of whom seem to have noticed that Janeway wasn't taken, and Chakotay asks if Neelix's contact might be a spy for the leather biker squad, which is a bit rich coming from him. Probably not, says Neelix, as his contact is part of the leather biker squad resistance movement. No more time for backstory though, as we're going to try revving the engines now it's had a chance to taste the sherbet. It works and the ship is back to normal, though Chakotay doesn't mention putting the shields back up again, so I guess it wasn't that important in the first place. On the bridge, Chakotay brings Voyager into the open, we were hiding behind a moon, and while they do this, Neelix tells Chakotay, and the viewers, that the leather biker squad are paranoid, which doesn't seem unreasonable given that aliens have been sneaking onto their planet. Voyager is spotted and we get a call from the leather biker squad leader, who greets them, sends over a copy of their rules, and says he'll look into it when informed that some of Voyager's crew have already invaded their planet, but it's fine because we're the good guys, remember? On the surface, Tuvok and B'Elanna have been locked up for that whole trespassing thing, but again, we're the good guys. They're worried about Janeway, but there's no need really, as she's having a lovely nap. She wakes up and the random stranger who saved her comes over and starts stroking her face, so presumably she's in some sort of spa. Tangentially, comm badges, like the one Janeway isn't wearing anymore, contain a universal translator that allows us to communicate with other species. It's not the first time Trek has ignored this, and it sure as shit won't be the last, but I just wanted you to be aware of it, so it'll annoy you too. You're welcome. Stranger gives Janeway a drink, tells her to lie down, and calls her his daughter. The observant among you may have noticed that one of these things is not like the others. A little later, Janeway gets up, thanks Stranger Dad for all the help, and asks for a transmitter to call her ship. He doesn't have that, so tries to give her some soup instead, which won't help her contact an orbiting spaceship, but his heart's in the right place. Actually, it probably isn't. He's an alien. Anyway, they have a chat about the leather biker squad and the people she was with, and Stranger Dad tells her she should be more careful, or she'll get hurt like she did before, from which we infer that Stranger Dad's original daughter got a little bit killed. After being told that the rest of the crew are in prison, Janeway says she needs to go rescue them. How handy, because Stranger Dad wants to go and rescue Stranger Mum, who definitely isn't already dead. On the ship, Chakotay is meeting with Leather Biker Squad leader, who's explaining that the whole invading their planet from a hidden ship thing leaves him a bit suspicious, which is a fair point. He refers to Voyager as disreputable, and we're again reminded that Voyager hasn't made a lot of friends in the Delta Quadrant. On a personal note here, I enjoy being shown that not everyone thinks Starfleet are amazing. It raises wider questions about how rumour and opinion, or propaganda, spreads between loosely affiliated species, and, on a more abstract level, raises parallels between Starfleet and the British Empire. Bear with me because this is a long one. You see, for all of Starfleet's posturing on how they've learned from the past and implemented non-interference rules, they're happy to throw those principles out of the window when it suits them. This unshakable belief that they know better because they're more civilized, coupled with the choice to ignore how the people on the other end of that equation feel about the results, is exactly what's led humans to destruction throughout history, only this time it's arguably worse because we're telling ourselves that we've learned from it, as we do it again. Case in point, Season 2, Episode 7, Parturition. Neelix and Paris find an alien offspring in a cave. They don't know what effect their interference will have, but they interfere anyway because it's the right thing to do. We're left being told it's fine to have done so because it all worked out, but do we know that? Perhaps that interference left the child with psychological trauma. Maybe it was considered special by its peers as a result, and the pressure led to its suicide. Maybe it absorbed their DNA through its skin, turned into a voracious predator, and is now chomping its way through the Akompa homeworld. We don't know. Now take another look at the current episode. Fact. We chose to visit this planet with the full knowledge that this was not what they wanted. Fact. We did so in secret. Fact. When caught, we used violence. We could argue that they're evil, but what do we base that on? The fact that they're cosplaying as Darth Vader? The words of Neelix, whose sources are the same rumours that have told people of the Delta Quadrant that we're a bunch of bastards? We have no evidence that they're wrong. Hell, we have no evidence that any of the species involved judge morality by the same standards that we do. It's also utterly fucking arrogant. Did we try diplomacy first? Clearly not, as Leather Biker Squad leader treats this as first contact and sends over their rules. When they attempt to engage with us in diplomacy, which Neelix, our expert, said wouldn't happen by the way, we're standoffish if not outright confrontational. Now switch that around. If a random species had infiltrated Earth, engaged with organizations considered hostile, then shot some police, would we be considering them the heroes? Now I'll admit, a part of me likes this, probably unintentional ambiguity, and there's something rather fascinating in the prospect that we were the real baddies all along. But again, I digress, and I thank you for your patience on that one. The meeting ends and Leather Biker Squad leader says he'll go and try to convince his mates to let them talk to the away team, which is frankly more than we deserve after not offering any defense. Cut to the prison cell where Leather Biker Squad leader is asking Tuvok about the resistance people that we were in contact with, and, as a side note, authoritarian regimes don't usually refer to their opponents in such generous terms. Getting nowhere, he takes Tuvok for some more questioning, with B'Elanna proving that we're reasonable again by attacking one of them. Back with Janeway, Stranger Dad says the Leather Biker Squad are looking for her. Then they have a chat about the prison break, interspersed with his denial of the probable truth about his wife and daughter, before he gives her some of Stranger Mum's jewellery. In her defence, Janeway is dead set against him having anything to do with the rescue attempt, but their hand is forced by some of the Leather Biker Squad turning up at the door, so they escape down a handy tunnel. Outside, we walk to the shop Neelix bought that sherbet from, but there's no answer. As we walk away, Leather Biker Squad leader, handily without a helmet, walks into view, and Stranger Dad has a bit of a moment before Janeway drags him round a corner. It seems Leather Biker Squad leader is the one who took Stranger Mum away. The shop owner arrives, and Leather Biker Squad leader wants to ask him some questions. Stranger Dad to the rescue, who acts like an arse to cause a distraction, giving shop owner a chance to scarper. A little later, shop owner and Janeway are chatting. He gives her information about some tunnels into the prison, then offers to trade weapons for the jewellery that belonged to Stranger Mum. Stranger Dad agrees for her, so I guess now we're involving ourselves in an armed insurrection. While we wait for the arms dealer, Stranger Dad talks about how Stranger Mum got involved with shooting people, then explains that his cowardice is kind of the reason she was caught. No time for reflection though, as the arms dealer turns up. Shit's dodgy though, cause he's got shiny shoes, and we all know that honest people are covered in filth, so they walk away. Janeway says she recognised his military boots, what with her intimate knowledge of Leather Biker Squad equipment, so it looks like the guns are off the table. Not to worry though, as Janeway has another plan. In the prison, Tuvok's back, and he's had the shit beaten out of him. We have a little interplay between B'Elanna and Tuvok about emotion, before it's interrupted by shop owner being brought in. Was he caught, or is he a plant? Unknown. It shouldn't matter, because Janeway's coming. In the access tunnel, she greets a guard while dressed as a lady of negotiable hospitality, and if the guard she's talking to wonders why she lacks the nose ridges of his species, he doesn't let it show. Enticed around a corner, Stranger Dad knocks him out. Nor this stealth bullshit for the other guard though, as Janeway just shoots him. Do those guns have a stun setting? Probably not, given that a graze gave Janeway massive tissue damage and knocked her out, so we probably just killed someone. But it's okay, because we're the good guys, remember. Stranger Dad takes the chance to grab a knife from the guy we just murdered, while Janeway's breaking into the prison. He might not get a chance to use it though, as she locks him out, so at least we're drawing the line at getting someone with PTSD killed. Back on Voyager, Chakotay's getting a prison break plan ready. They do some science to try and teleport an away team in, but the Leather Biker Squad don't take kindly to it and fire a warning shot. Leather Biker Squad leader gives them a call and says he has a lot of guns pointing at them and he wants them to fuck off, which, again, is pretty reasonable under the circumstances. In the prison, Janeway's fiddling with some tech while hiding from the Leather Biker Squad guards. She makes a panel go kaboom, which opens the doors and sets off alarms. B'Elanna and Tuvok take the opportunity to knock out a guard that was in their cell for some reason, and scarp her. Kim on Voyager detects the power fucky in the prison, and, after a little chat, we get ready to send that away team despite the threat of Voyager getting shot at. In the prison again, and Janeway finds shop owner, who says he'll take her to her people. On the way, we find Stranger Dad, who's taken the opportunity to sneak in, then stumble across Tuvok and B'Elanna. Janeway says she's not ready to leave yet as she wants to save Stranger Mum, but the whole thing is shat on by Leather Biker Squad leader, who turns up with some guards and surrounds them. Back in orbit, Voyager's taking hits from the planet. We're about to scarp her, but Kim spots a storm in the atmosphere and thinks hiding behind that will help block Leather Biker Squad's scanners as it's affecting theirs too. I guess we'll worry about how we're going to scan for the away team later. In the prison, Leather Biker Squad leader is explaining that Stranger Dad is a known quantity to him. He breaks in every now and then to try and save Stranger Mum, who's been dead for 12 years. Stranger Dad gets a bit upset and attacks Leather Biker Squad leader, stabbing him with the knife he nicked before getting shot by the guards. These same guards scarp her when they see that their boss has been stabbed, which makes no fucking sense, but shut up. Janeway pretends to be Stranger Daughter and tells Stranger Dad he's forgiven, then he dies, which, tangentially, proves the guns are lethal and Janeway is a murderer. Oh, and the away team is here too now, so it's time to go. I presume we found a way to scan for them, and I guess they stopped shooting at us too. Back on the ship, Janeway takes a look at the sweet loot she got, which doesn't exactly help disprove the British Empire thing I said earlier, and we fly away. End of episode.